Hello, this is Jennifer Bato'on, your Las Vegas real estate broker at Earth Real Estate, and thank you so much again for choosing me to represent you as your agent on the sale of your property. Selling property is probably one of the biggest financial transactions that most people will experience in their lifetime, so I treat the responsibility extremely seriously and handle every transaction as if it were my own. The process of selling your home is lengthy and can be complicated, but I've put together this spreadsheet to try to make the process as simple and clear as possible and know that I will be there with you every step along the way. So let's get started. The first step, which we've probably already done, is to have a consultation. And a couple of things will happen in this consultation. I always like to hear from the seller first what their goals are, why they're selling, are they in a rush, or do they have more time to sell the property, which will affect how we market and advertise the property. Before we even meet, I'm going to make sure that title is free and clear before we put the home on the market, and I will help you resolve any issues there if necessary. I will walk through the property, make notes of all of the features, the condition, and any work that might need to be done to get the property in optimal condition before people come and see it. And then we're also going to review the contract or listing agreement and marketing strategy. Next, we're going to prepare the home for market. So here are a few things that are commonly done if the home isn't vacant. We're going to declutter, we're going to do any repairs if necessary, make sure everything is working as it should. Staging, it could mean outside furniture, but more often it just means making your existing furniture and belongings look their best, like a model home. If the home is vacant, we're going to make sure all of the utilities are on. And once all of that is done and the home is looking amazing, I'm going to get photos done and make copies of any keys for the lockbox that realtors access when doing showings. Next, we're going to list the home for sale. And one of the biggest benefits of working with a realtor is I'm going to put that home on the MLS or multiple listing service where it gets broadcast to tens of thousands of realtors in the Southern Nevada area, all with excited buyers ready to buy your home. And once it goes on the MLS, it does get also simultaneously published to over 100 syndicated websites for real estate, including Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. So all of those websites, you'll have your house listed on there. I might put a yard sign with your permission, which is a great way to reach people who are in the neighborhood looking to buy there. It's up to sellers if they want to allow me to do open houses. I usually do social media, and I may do ads, email marketing, calls, etc. We will work together to find the perfect tailored marketing strategy customized for your goals. Once the home is listed for sale, I usually get a ton of calls, which I will field for you. I'll talk to agents and hopefully get a lot of showings. So this is when other realtors will come and with their buyers and show the house in person. And then as we're getting showings, ideally we're getting offers. And so we will review the offers as they come in. I'll help you compare the offer terms. When you feel like you want to select one of the offers, and if it's a financed offer or if it's cash, I will always verify their proof of funds or their status with the lender to make sure that they're solid. And then once we do pick an offer that we want to proceed with, we can either accept the offer as it is, we could reject the offer, which we may just not respond to it at all, or most commonly we're going to counter offer. So we might like most of the things about the offer, but want to respond and change a few things. And that's a whole back and forth process. And then once all of that's done, we are going to have accepted an offer. Woohoo! And here I made a note. I always like to have backup offers if possible because people's wants and motivations can and do change. So I always like to be prepared. So once we've accepted the offer, I'm going to open escrow for you. And we are officially in the escrow period. And here I'm going to refer to the contract. And this is the paperwork that buyers use to write offers. And once we've accepted the offer, this becomes the contract that guides us through the rest of the process. So here in the contract, it's going to state opening of escrow shall take place by the end of 1 business day after acceptance of this agreement. And then the title company and escrow officer are going to be listed here. So once we open escrow, the buyers then to deposit earnest money. And the earnest money deposit is a sign of good faith that they intend to follow through with this purchase. So they're going to give us a little bit of money, customarily 1% of the sales price, that will be held in escrow. And if should they back out for a reason that is not really a good reason, you would likely get to keep that earnest money deposit in exchange for them wasting your time. So the amount of that earnest money will also be found in the contract. Here on the first page, right at the very top, this is the first page of the offer. It'll have the offer price, and then it'll say this is how much earnest money that they're offering. And that is usually bank wired straight to escrow. I don't hold any money. Once earnest money is deposited, we begin what's called the buyer's due diligence period. And let me just check this off. So the buyer's due diligence period is also found in the contract, item number 7. And here it is. So buyer's due diligence. Buyer's obligation usually is conditioned on the buyer's due diligence as defined in section 7A below. Customarily, as if I'm representing the buyer, I'll ask for 10 days, but everything in a contract is negotiable. It could be as little as 5 days or 7 days, or maybe a little longer, 12 days. Maybe they're coming from out of town and they need more time. But this is the period where the buyer has to really deeply inspect the property and everything about it and its surroundings to make sure that it's to their satisfaction. And that could include flood zones, airport noise, noxious fumes, crime statistics, just really anything and everything. And so this is the most touch and go period of the escrow process, where they can really cancel for any reason whatsoever and not really give us a reason and get their full earnest money deposit back. So during this time, I'm going to send that seller's disclosure that you filled out, marking anything to your knowledge that could be wrong with the home to the buyer. The buyer is going to conduct their home inspection, usually with a licensed home inspector, to make sure everything about the home and the surrounding areas is to their satisfaction, including school districts and such. And like I said, this is the period that buyers can cancel for any reason and get their EMD back. During this time, buyers may send a request for repairs if any repairs were found to be needed during the inspection, and that then becomes another negotiation. But the great news is once we make it through this period, chances of the deal going through are much higher. So I will let you know when all of these periods expire and when the inspection is scheduled so that everything is running on track. Okay. Next, if there is an HOA, it's the seller's responsibility or the seller's agent's responsibility to order the HOA package. So by Nevada law, seller is required to pay for the HOA package. And besides any repairs, this is usually the only out-of-pocket cost for the seller. It's usually a couple $100, depending on the HOA. And once we receive it, I'm going to send it to the buyer's agent, and the buyer then has 5 calendar days to review and accept the HOA rules. So since they're going to be living in the home under this HOA, they have an opportunity to review the rules of the HOA and make sure that they're willing to live within those rules. Sometimes I've seen, the only thing I've ever heard someone canceling for an HOA rule was the HOA didn't allow them to hang their laundry outside, but for religious reasons, they wanted to be able to hang their laundry outside. And that is actually also in the contract, just to show you. Here is, So, buyer may cancel this agreement without penalty until midnight of the 5th calendar day following the date of receipt of the HOA resale package. And also, if we do not send the buyer the resale package within 15 calendar days of acceptance, this agreement may be canceled. So I will make sure all of that is done in a timely fashion so that we meet those deadlines. All right. Meanwhile, the title company, which is also title or escrow, we use those terms interchangeably, is going to order the preliminary title report to once more confirm that title is free and clear. The buyer then has 5 business days to review the preliminary title report and accept or contest any issues. So this would be like if there was like a tax lien on the home, we would need that cleared up before we are able to sell the home. And that's also right here. So preliminary title report within 10 business days of opening escrow, title company shall provide buyer with a preliminary title report, which must be approved or rejected within 5 business days of receipt thereof. But honestly, I usually never have any problems with that. The next step is if the buyer is financed, the lender, the mortgage company, will usually require an appraisal. I have seen cases where, since a lot of the homes in Vegas are so similar and cookie cutter, they've waived the appraisal. But more often than not, they will want to confirm the value of the home through a licensed appraiser to make sure that they're not over lending on a property that's not really worth that much. And a special service that I do that I don't know if a lot of agents do is I prepare my own report with my own comps and listing any improvements made, and I go to meet the appraiser in person to help the appraisal come in at full value as much as possible. And that is also in the contract. Here is the appraisal contingency. Buyer's obligation to purchase the property is contingent upon the property appraising for not less than the purchase price. So we need that appraisal to come in for at least the amount that they offered us. Buyer may attempt to renegotiate or cancel the RPA by providing written notice to us, the sellers, with a copy of the appraisal no later than 18 calendar days, or here it's just 18 days in my example, following the date of acceptance of the RPA. Whereupon the EMD shall be released to the buyer without the requirement of written authorization from seller. So basically, the buyer has 18 calendar days from the date that we go under contract to get an appraisal done. And if the appraisal does not come in, they need to cancel within those 18 calendar days, or we can renegotiate a new purchase price if the appraisal does not come in. And this is, to protect the buyer in case the appraisal doesn't come in. Okay, so usually once the appraisal comes in, meanwhile, the lender has been working to verify all of their personal financial documents, send them to underwriting. Now they have the appraisal, and then the loan is approved, the buyer's loan. And that's also right here in the loan contingency. Buyer's obligation is contingent upon buyer obtaining the loan. So it's usually a few days after the appraisal. They have a few more days to get their loan approved. And obviously, if they can't qualify for their mortgage, they can cancel and get their earnest money deposit back. So customarily, this would say like 18 days and 21 days. But again, everything is negotiable. And once those steps are completed, those are really the major hurdles in the process. And really, if we get through all of that, we're usually good. Towards the end of the traditionally 30-day escrow period in Las Vegas, in other states it could be like 45 days in Hawaii, buyers are entitled to a final walkthrough, which is also here listed in the contract. So here, buyer is entitled under this agreement to a walkthrough of the property within customarily 3 calendar days prior to close of escrow to ensure the property and all major systems, appliances, etc. are as stated in the seller's disclosure, and that the property and vents are in the same general condition as when this agreement was accepted. This is also the time that they may also make sure that any repairs that were done to their satisfaction. And so this is, just one last opportunity for the buyer to see the home before we officially close the deal. And it's totally usually smooth and fine. Then we're going to do a closing signing, and that's where either you'll do it in the title company's office in person, or if you live out of state, we'll usually get a mobile notary at your expense. And you're going to sign a bunch of paperwork, all of the legal documents, officially handing over the possession of your home to the new owner. The most important thing that I always tell people is to bring your photo ID. And I also recommend at least taking a picture of your photo ID, because I did have one client forget it, but they did accept a photo that he had of it on his phone. So once, ideally, we're going to schedule that closing signing early in the morning as possible, so that if everyone signs by 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, then the title off company sends everything over to the Clark County Recorder's Office, and everything has to be officially recorded at the Recorder's Office for it to be official. So title will usually send me an email asking, are we clear to close? And I will check with you, like, are you sure? Are you really sure you want to sell this home? And then ideally the answer is yes. I will tell them clear to close. They will send it to the Recorder's Office, and we will just wait until our place comes up in the queue, and they will record our deed, and that will be the official closing of your home. And so that would be closing day, and that would be like a big celebration for everybody involved. And title will then send a final settlement statement showing all of the debits and credits, and they will send you the proceeds of the sale of your home. Woohoo! So that is my overview of the whole process once we're under escrow. I will send this spreadsheet to you, but with specific dates and deadlines relevant to us. But I hope that answers any questions and makes the process seem as simple and clear as possible. And I look forward to working with you to sell your home. Thank you so much for watching.